Hello, welcome back to my playthrough of the Age of the Ring 4.0 campaign, which follows Fellowship of the Ring. Last level we did Treason of Isengard, which was very short, you know, nice little scene. And the next level we're going on to was actually the last level we added. I'll just load it up. Last level we added to the campaign, probably back in. By the time you could actually play it, it was probably May. By the time it was fully finished, it was probably, early July, something like that. So we didn't have long to test it. I think it's a really good level. It's a nice way to be able to show these different stories around Middle-earth by talking to the characters. You know, we don't have to link them together. They can just be independent stories. It gives us a lot of freedom to do scenes we couldn't maybe otherwise do as full missions because it would take too long or what have you. The only issue is it does have, unfortunately, it seems to be some serious memory issues. So anybody who is playing, I advise you save basically every time. There's just all the time if you can. Try and save all the time. For the patch, I'm going to introduce a way of leaving the hall early if you don't want to risk playing the way you crash halfway through. So if you reload a save, you don't have to do it, you can leave. But for now, it is as it is, and it's advisable to save as bloody often as you can. Right, here we go. Here we are, looking nice. All our retextured Rivendell props. Of course, we head up here to where it's all new. I do apologise for the lag a little bit in my computer. I'm not being very happy with what it's looking at. Or what it's being asked to look at. There's almost nothing vanilla. I don't think there is anything vanilla actually looking at the Hall of Fire. Maybe those statues holding the flame. Everything else is completely new. Floor terrains, the walls, everything. It's all brand new. Before I do speak to any of the heroes, let's just have a quick look. I think it looks amazing. You know, the guys, I sort of came up with a vague idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to open up one of the buildings we do see in the film, you know, and have this Hall of Fire scene we hear about in the book where they sort of tell their tales and what have you. This layout, you know, it proved popular, and the guys, they all did their own bits. Matthias made this wall that wrapped around it. We had these little banisters and railings, and then we had these these tapestries and the floor textures, and it just all came together incredibly well and oddly fast as well. Once we knew what we were doing, decided on the design, it was not long at all before it was completed. And I think it's one of the best looking parts in the campaign. And for those who like the slower pace of it, you get to walk around, talk to every hero, hear what they have to say. And it's all completely new text, dialogue written by Matthias. And he's bloody good at it, considering, you know, he's having to emulate Tolkien. He does an amazing job, I think. And it makes talking to these people worth it, you know. We could have just left a bunch of props and had them say nothing, you know, but it really it's a highlight for me in the campaign. I shouldn't dither because I'll probably just tax my computer. I thought just have a look around. Benefit of having such a small mission, which you don't need to actually use Rivendell, is you can make it accurate, well, as accurate as you want to the film. I wouldn't call this an accurate layout, but it's close, you know, it's closer than we see in Vanilla Battle. 2, certainly. Right, I'll stop. Right, I'm going to speak to everybody first, just to get that out of the way. I don't know what this Murver is. I don't know how you bloody pronounce it, but he's clearly drunk off his arse. I've had a good night's sleep. What are they putting in his drink, eh? I won't attempt to read the text, because I will certainly butcher it. You may read it at your leisure. But I do like it. It's you can read it in their own voices in your head, and it works really well. I love these dudes walking around as well. They made them up for me. They weren't overly keen on adding them in, but I really like them. You know, they just make it feel a little more busy, a little more populated. These two buggers here, for some reason, when I added these in, this one on the left, which one's you? Eladan, whatever you were. I put him over here, and he just wouldn't appear. I spent a day trying to work out why the hell he wasn't there. Moved him an inch further down, he turned up. I was not pleased. I was bloody unimpressed. Such are the issues you encounter doing this sort of thing. There he is again, our hero from the last level. He's not looking at me, is he? He's not looking me in the eye. Doesn't trust me. That's great, I love having these little text prompts. Not overly complicated to script. There's effectively, if you can imagine, an invisible box around them. Once Frodo enters it, you know, we'll play the first set of dialogue. Then we have a set of scripts which can basically work out whether Frodo's still there or he's left. If he's left, it'll wait till you come back to play the next piece of dialogue. So you don't have to stay there if you don't want. You can go between people and return if you want to hit the remaining bits. You can't miss anything. That was important. I thought I didn't want people to walk off and accidentally, you know, skip over bits they wanted to listen to by accident. So I spent a long time doing that, and it works. It's so far foolproof, which is nice. Because very few things appear to be foolproof in this. in watching people playing this thing, it's certainly been interesting. Right. Nice speaking to you, Legolas, about your wisps and tails and what have you. And there's Arwen, looking a bit melancholy out here on her own. She's certainly cheerier than her dad, apparently. He's got all bummed out and depressed. And we get to see actual, the new Arwen in the campaign, which is nice, because the previous level we had the vanilla version, so it's nice to be able to have this one in there somewhere. Without holding a sword as well, which is nice, because most people here are heavily armed and they are ready for fighting. They've got every weapon drawn, and they are ready to fight. Let's do, as we're going around the let's skip past. I'm not speaking to Boromir yet, because if you haven't played it, he's actually one of the people we're meant to speak to an objective, if you will. I'll avoid him for now. Let's speak to you, Lindir, who I know is from The Hobbit. He does make an appearance, doesn't he? In what are you speaking? Huh? Oh, that's a bit of a dodgy box. Oop, that guy got way too close. I think he's a spy. He's listening in on us. This model looks amazing. He's only made for the whole of the Rivendell Library, but he looks brilliant. I'm glad we could. What is he doing with his hand? I'm glad we got him in. Oh, he looked away. He's not keen on speaking to us either. Gimli, now this is a model worth paying, real respect to when you zoom in on him. He's just amazing. And when he gets the double-headed axe later on, it's just brilliant. That helmet, sorry, I'm zooming all over the place. Look at the quality of that helmet, my god. I don't know how they do it. Oh, he's done with me as well. I'm not reading the text, sorry. That's up to you if you want to read it. It's, I've read it several times already. It's all lovely. Gloin's one of my favourite things we've added. Hopefully when I convert the Battlefield 2 campaign, you'll get to use him actually. He just looks perfect. First time I've really, it reminds me of the Dwarf Holds Gloin, but obviously brought up to spec massively, and it really looks great. I probably dithered too much. Who haven't I spoken to? Everybody down here and Sam. Sam doesn't actually say anything, he's just completely agog, if you will. He's just, I guess he's been staring at the fire, his eyes probably hurt by now. Dot dot dot. Sam appears transfixed. Sam appears transfixed. I can't read today. That was one of those things when I was giving the text, I thought, oh okay, he's transfixed, I won't put anything in then. And it's like, no, he meant to say he's transfixed, and I missed that out for months. I didn't go back and add that till very late. I was foolish. Right, let's do our first vignette, if you want to call it that. And the saves on these are incredibly long because the map is just, it's not a huge map in terms of memory, it's just, there's something about it the game really struggles with. It's not the object count, because it's not overly crazy, There's other maps in the campaign with more objects, certainly, and they don't have the same problems, but this one appears just cursed, unfortunately. It's a shame. We did go through, I had to go through and purge 600 objects from it, which I mention that a lot because it definitely hurt doing it. Going through all these, carefully laid out object areas and having to delete things you spent ages laying out wasn't fun. But I knew doing it, no one would notice, and the truth is no one has noticed. I just knew it would bother me, It's one of those things. My god. Now that is a long save game. Probably compounded by the fact that I have a particularly slow computer. If it even does finish saving at all, it might just be doomed. Oh no, there we are. I was foolish and naive. Right, let's speak to Bilbo. Bilbs, how you doing? This is old Bilbo, of course. There he is, look how cute he is. Bilbo's sitting here talking about riddles with Strider, and Strider, of course, now finally has his. What's he called when he is it? Enduro? Yeah. He finally has his sword. Because previously he has his ranger gear. And Carl actually went through and add that all in. So here are our first story, and it's pretty obvious where we are. We're following Bilbo in
this place?
his game of riddles. And we're back to young Bilbo, of course, Martin Freeman. And there it is. Gimme, gimme, gimme.
What's this?
What's that sound in the distance? We can hear it. If we walk round here, approach, head towards that sound, we can look down here. What's that on the rock? It's Gollum having a munch of something or something. I think there is is there an orc there? No. I love putting these little songs in and stuff. Right. And we have spooked him. Sorry, I was enjoying the song. This little vignette's very different. You know something's up because Bilbo's drawn his sword, and up onto the rock comes Gollum. There he is. And you notice immediately you can't attack him. This follows very much what we see in the film. You know, it's a lot of dialogue. I mean, I had hundreds of pieces of audio I had to go through and cut out and add into the game. And we had to edit the order it appears in to make it all tie together. But basically we get to follow a whole riddles game, and we get to answer the riddles, and if you do it wrong, you can die. That's really the only real threat for the first part of this.
From the Shire.
Making sure you remember, well, either you remember the answers or you can work them out. It's up to you.
Just show me the way to
Hopefully you
get out
can.
of here.
If you do struggle working them out, you can pause the game as well. And think about it. That's certainly a valid plan. Getting this thing to look good was quite tricky. He moves around constantly. We had to line up where he's standing when he says something, where he's looking. This kind of stuff. If you want to look at a lot of scripting, open this part up. World builder.
Maybe. Why don't we have a game of riddles?
Have a game of riddles.
Just you and me. And if I win,
Smiley Gollum.
show me the way out. Yes.
Dialogue's brilliant. The scene. That looking away and stuff like that. Hopefully that makes it a little more entertaining to watch than just, what it really is, which is two people stood there doing nothing.
Fair enough.
Fair enough, off he goes. First riddle.
Is tall from trees, up it goes, and yet never grows.
What will that be? I know this, it's a mountain. These are made by Mountain Lego Man. We had to come up with alternative answers, and they're brilliant. These little decals, you can clearly see what they're meant to be.
The mountain.
Having the Lonely Mountain illustration is a lovely detail. But, he made those up for me and added them in, and they're fantastic. He also made all the mushrooms, and I've been told many times I've gone over mushrooms, but I really like them. And bones. I've told too many bones. But we don't know how long he's been here. He gets hungry. He's a growing thing.
No. I want to play. I do. I want to play.
He wants to play.
I can see you are very good at this.
Sometimes the things, his idle animations, just randomly idled. However, sometimes I do that, specifically make him do them. So that Gollum there, that's on purpose. He does the little cough. That's not just random.
Wingless, flutters, toothless, bites, mouthless, mutters.
That would never be that clean if it weren't for the Hobbit games, which, like the Lego Lord of the Rings game, they are liberty to have this audio in the game and it not sound terrible. We thank God those things exist, because they've made my life so much easier. And this scene in the film doesn't have too much music, so it's not too bad to cut out. And had we done the Hobbit campaign, of course this would have been a mission there. We wouldn't have. But as we stopped doing that, it seemed like a waste to not do this scene, and it was a great way to shoehorn it into the Fellowship of the Ring.
Flowers. Gnaws iron.
Bites steel.
Bites steel. Grinds hard stones to meal.
And
I don't know this one.
I think we don't have normally, which happened in the film, we don't have Bilbo's riddles to Gollum. You know, there was no point adding those in really. It would just drag the time out, and they wouldn't have added anything. There we are, all
The
done.
answer is time.
Yes, it's time. He's not happy.
Last question. Last chance.
Here he comes.
Ask us.
Oh, we're asking him now. Yeah.
What have I got in my pocket?
It's no fair. It's no fair. Answers.
Wrong. Guess again.
Knife.
Wrong again. Last guess.
String. Or nothing.
Two guesses at once.
Lost Gollum.
Wrong both times.
That kind of weeping sadness.
I
Kind
won
of
the
thing.
game. You promised to show me the
That's
way out.
definitely. Well, I think I put it in there.
Did we say so, precious? Did we say so? What has it got in its pockets?
It's no concern of yours.
He's not happy.
You lost.
You lost Gollum. So there's nothing too complicated scripting-wise going on here. The only laborious part was just doing every single movement, you know, adding every piece of dialogue, cutting it all out. The actual scripting. We just have 3 points where the riddles appear. We did randomise the order. They're not always spawning in the same order, so you can't just memorise which one came where. They do appear in endless different orientations and arrangements. Just to make sure you can't just memorise a pattern. I'm cruel like that. This is the part where it all changes. What's it got in its pocket? Stop eating a fish, Gollum. You're ruining it. It's not good. He's worked us out. I'm gonna select Gollum. Right, that prompt means we have to get the hell out of here. And that's it. Gollum's lost us. At this point, Gollum's scripting is basically he'll work out which zone, and I broke this whole cave down and the paths into several districts. And he'll go to each district, and if we're still in there, he'll basically just patrol around. And if you do remove the ring, he will attack you and kill you in, 3 hits? I think it is, something like that. So it's advisable to keep the ring on. Originally, the Eye of Sauron would appear, you know, completely out of time for them, or none of it matches up, but it would appear to make Bilbo remove the ring. And that meant you were vulnerable to Gollum, he could get you. So you were actually able to die quite easily in this scene, but it was discussed and decided that it wasn't, A, it wasn't right, didn't make sense in the story, and B, it was just not very fun to have another run-hide scene. It's nice, it's a shame really, because the scripting was all there to make it work. You know, he still can attack you if you remove the ring, and he has audio prompts all tied up with that as well, but if it's not worth it, I guess it's not worth it, you know, so it was better just have Bilbo find his way out the cave, as we see he does in the film. These sorts of things were important because people would get lost quite easily. I was reported in testing, trying to get out of here. And then the next maze, actually, which is a maze, is contentious amongst the team because some people... Actually, I think it's just me. I'm the only person who doesn't mind it at this point. Everybody else goes, we don't need another bloody maze. But, so if you do hate it, you have only myself to blame because they would have happily got rid of it. Where the hell does this go? Alright, yeah. I do know the way out of here, so I'm not going to dither. So at this point, Gollum will know from the scripting where we are, and he'll be moving around this area in particular. Eventually, probably cross right past us. I'm sure I'll reuse the scripts again at some point for something. It was nice to work them out. One thing I have noticed is this music appears to be a bit quiet. See, as I said, he's probably around here somewhere. There he is. Which was scarier back when you could lose the ring. The ring would run out. It was scary having him appear out of the dark and just get you. This is the path you need to take. It's very hard to see. It's sort of tucked right down at the bottom. Intentionally. I don't like to make it too easy. I'm a cruel man. Once you've sort of found your way out, it's not too bad. You just keep going. Now there is an Easter egg up here, which some people may miss. I thought I know it's coming up, so I'll endeavour to show it. There's an audio prompt that goes along with it, so you do have some awareness of what's happening. There we are.
Only one thing will save us.
Only one thing will save us. And if you look over in this scene, you can see all our hobbits in the campaign, including some newer hobbits, which were only added for that one tiny scene. Look, there they go. Off they go. You won't be able to play them in the mod. They're only there for that one bit. You never see them again. It's mad, that level of detail, but it really sells it. And this is it. We've made it out. We've achieved the unachievable and escaped. Gollum's riddles will not cause us any more problems.
Curse it and crush it, we hate it forever!
Now, will it crash? That's the question. No, it didn't crash. Excellent. There we go. That's Tale of Riddles. Sorted. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to save, because, as I advised earlier, it's almost like a memory build-up as you play this level. The longer you play it, the more things you do, the bigger that build-up and the more it struggles. And it can crash a fair amount. It's always worth doing it. No, I think that vignette is really nice. It was the first one we did. It was probably around March, something like that, I think. Pardon me, because we only decided to do Council of Elrond back in February or something like that. Campaign was all done in our eyes in a way, and we discussed things, and I suggested things foolishly. I decided I wanted to do more stuff, and Matthias came up with obviously his grand plans, and we did it all with the intention of being Orthanc, Riddles, and the Gladden Fields, which is Isildur's mission. We haven't done that yet. Orthanc, obviously, like I mentioned in the previous video, we wanted the movie clips either side, so that got bumped to its own level, so that added another level to the campaign. So it went from being 8 missions to 10 with Orthanc and Council of Elrond. But they're two of our standouts, I think. I think it was definitely worth doing it. I haven't spoken to Strider yet. Let's go over and have a chat. I'm safe here. Then why do you have that giant sword drawn? So I quite like what the hobbits do. They put the swords away outside of battle. I wish every hero did that, really. I think it would look great. None of us have animation capture studios or care about such pernickety details, I guess. Gandalf, you don't say anything, do you? Let's do Gladden Fields. This one can crash, so let's get it out of the way and see what happens. Of course, we have our brand new Elrond model from the Rivendell faction, and he looks amazing. Just the level of detail in his face. He was always one of the best models in Valve Earth 1 as well, because I guess he was made for the cinematic, and they never bothered, dropping his model quality or his texture resolution, because you never got to use him. They just left him buried in the world builder files. But he looked amazing. So here we are, moving into the tale of how Isildur lost the ring, how it betrayed him. Being overwhelmed. One thing I have noticed, which is strange, is my music appears to have completely broken. I think that's probably just me. I'm just going to pause this rather rudely. Yeah, well, something must have broken. Either way, normally, obviously, there's music assigned to each of these scenes. Somehow I've managed to break it completely. So, just kill all these guys and I can recoup. This, if you're not aware... Run, dude! No! I lost him with a child. This mission follows that scene we see at the end of the Fellowship of the Ring prologue. Run away, you dicks. Why are you just standing there?
We must take the fight to them.
Well, it's your own fault you did. But we see Isildur get ambushed. and his men. He has to flee into the river. This more or less covers that little scene, expanded out, stretched out into a short mission. That was the ambush that breaks apart our party, and we've got all the carnage from it. We've got these writhing dead orcs and dead Dunedain troops, and even a dead horse. And we have what's left of our men. The important thing about this level is you don't have any way of recouping your men. This is all you've got, and you've got to make it to the end with as many as you can. Our heroes.
Nothing shall stand before us.
Isildur from the Last Alliance, as he looked then, and a completely new hero just for this one level, which is Elrond, which is his son, and I think he looks amazing. I love the black robes on it, and the quality of his face is incredible. For those who aren't, just look at that. It's a bit of a shame, really. Actually, I like him enough that I wish he wasn't just exclusive to this scene. But it's nice that they, do this sort of thing. Makes the campaign feel much more rewarding to work on, because you get these, this attention to detail given to you for nothing. And he's our main protagonist, really, in this scene.
Enemy spotted. We must hold here.
Rallies the men. So at this point, Isildur's obviously, I guess he's a little older, a little nervous, scared. So he takes his ring, and he disappears. So our job here is to hold the orcs off from finding Isildur. So we defend this point here.
I stand as your king.
Push back out. Normally that would sound a little more interesting if we had music. It ain't.
Do not fear them.
I've got one archer at the back with this poor group, this poor bugger. He lost all his mates. Elrond has a heal power, and you have obviously spellbook heal power, and these are very helpful in keeping your men alive. Because, as I said, if they get caught out and they get killed, you can really struggle to finish the rest of them. Normally, actually, I get to this point with more men. I think it's how I was yabbering on, got distracted and missed out. Look at him go. Chop. For a long time, his placeholder was Elendil, which is sort of fitting, because supposedly he's meant to look incredibly like him. He has the same height and everything. So.
We must take the fight to them.
It's only, again, very near the end of the development, and we almost released that he was added in. Thank God he was. The missions, it's not too hard, I will say. It's not too tricky. It was a lot harder before. We had I'll explain that in a minute, but it's not too hard to win.
We must take the fight to them.
Keep your men clumped, keep your archers alive, and you'll be alright. Kill them off. Again, I used a lot of the audio scripting from The Last Alliance to give the battles a little more,
Do not fear them.
I guess, dynamicism. You could hear them, sort of saying, but they're a little more doomed though, I guess, than Last Alliance. Last Alliance, they're quite heroic in let's take these people down. Most of the audio prompts are, we're going to be overrun, we're going to die, all that kind of stuff. So at this point, we lose control of our men. They retreat. They push up into the forest, and our task is to find Isildur and tell him basically we can't hold the line, and he needs to move back. Isildur could be in one of these 4 spots to the north, and one of the 4 spots to the south. And a hint, if you are struggling to find him, I won't kill these orcs. One thing you've got to make sure is there's no orcs around, because even if he is here, he won't reveal himself while there's orcs. He'll wait until they're mostly dead to turn up. But you can sort of tell where he is if you listen out for the audio prompts. If you recognise that sound from the film when Frodo wears the ring, it's kind of a distorted whooshing kind of sound. You can hear that on the level. And that will indicate to you whether he's where you're looking. I don't hear it in either of these. I will go to them, just in case. But that would imply to me he's in the south and not up here. Yeah, he's not here, as I suspected. This forest was tricky to get right, actually. If you remember in the film, it doesn't have much going for it. It's pretty dead. But these are EA trees from the Gladden Fields map, and actually putting them in here, adding the really dark textures into the forest, making it a bit undulating. I think sold it, especially when you add the fog in and stuff. It really it helped make it look like it's meant to. I guess it's winter. Weather's not brilliant at the time. I can't hear the sound here, so that implies he's not there either. What about here? Nope. Where else could he be? Sometimes the map gets stuck in the black terrain. Yeah, I can hear it there. So my assumption would be he's down there. I don't give a prompt to that. You know, I don't. It's one of those things you might pick up later on, and that can help you. But, oh no, I stand corrected. Oh, he's over here. That's my fault. You can hear it's a lot clearer now, that sound. It's more subtle when you have music going as well. There he is. What up, Dad? Yeah, basically, in jest, in short, we're telling him that, yeah, he's not safe, and he puts the ring back on and he moves on. And our job now is to regroup with our men up here. This is surprisingly not too bad to script. Once you've got it set up for once, because this repeats in a fashion a few times, you could just sort of replicate it across. And because we don't have to worry about... Because I block basically the player from now going any further back this way, it's not too hard to spawn orcs in and get them arrived.
I stand as your king.
See, our objective here is just to survive. Pardon me.
We must
Eventually
take the
we'll
fight
have...
to them. Advance.
Here they come. It's a good thing to try and trap them in here, keep them hemmed in, because Lendo can do a lot of damage. If you let them surround you, they can get round to your archers, and they can really mess with you. Don't for God's sake set Lendo's powers on autocast, because you need to save them when it's important. I might heal them now, just so I've got extra units for the fight. The fog, I think, works well. It can be obscuring, but I think that's the whole point. You know, it is an ambush, and they're completely outmaneuvered by the orcs in a way. See what I mean? It's a lot less heroic the way they speak. They speak in a very sort of doomed fashion, and that's kind of the thing I like to go for. It's not meant to be very. It's meant to be a bit sad playing. It's grim seeing this whole scene fall apart in front of you. This fight, you know, if you lose a lot of men in the beginning, it can be more tricky. But, you know, it's certainly doable. It used to be the case that if they got past you, because the objective used to be you have to stop them from advancing in the forest, if they reached here, per se, the mission would fail. But it became too risky that, you know, orcs would skim up along here, or they'd skip, or people just wouldn't get that was the point. So I removed it completely. The objective is still to stop them advancing, but you don't have to. They're going to attack you, they're not going to move past you. And it works a lot better, it wasn't fun. Originally, with this level, you didn't get the light spots telling where Isildur was, and we didn't have such clearly defined areas. You know, you can look at these areas which have lots of open space and ferns growing, and that kind of implies that he's in one of those spots. Originally it was just a very homogeneous forest, with you just have to listen out for the single audio prompt and try and get near it, and it was decided it while it was doable, it was not fun. So we added the light prompts, and I agree, it works so much better doing it that way. There's no ambiguity of what's meant to be happening or where you're meant to go. It's easy just to go wrong here. Oh, I thought this battle was over, Jesus Christ. I find sometimes pulling these guys back can be useful. If they're being a bit dumb, although I don't know why. If they're being attacked in Battle Pillar 2, they basically can't retreat. They're pinned.
We must take the fight to them.
This fight's longer than I think the other two that follow it. It's probably the longest one in the level. But I it doesn't bother me. I love playing with these troops. You know? We only get to see them in the originally it was just the Last Alliance, but now we get to see them here and the Last Alliance. But they look great, and the capes, and now with the special heroes as well, it's just loads of fun to play. It's something very simple now. There's no upgrades, there's no nothing. It's just here's your men, get here, try and survive.
I stand as your king.
Really works for me at least. Right, they're off.
Hold here. Fall back.
Fall back.
Come with me.
Well, he's not here. He's not here. Is he up here? Nope, I don't hear him. There he is. So I mean, once you know that can be really helpful in working out where you're meant to go. So that's a tip if you are struggling. Though you do get enough time to visit every single spot. You know, it used to be a lot shorter. It used to be about 1 minute and 20 seconds. So if you got it wrong, you do. Here he
I
is.
stand as your king.
In grave danger. What should we do? Woods
We
ahead
must
of
take the
quieter.
fight to them.
Off he
I
goes.
stand
Annoying
as
thing,
your king.
for me at least, is
Advance.
the putting the ring on power.
Forward.
Isildur does have one,
Advance.
but the AI through World Builder are unable to use that. If you put the script, you say, here, use this power at this point, they will not do it. It is impossible. For some reason that script is just broken and it just won't happen. I don't know why.
Die, you miserable creature.
So those scenes where Isildur goes invisible, he's not using his ring power. He's using Wormtongue's stealth ability with new effects applied to it. Because that can fire through scripting. And that took me, that sounds complicated. It took me a day to work that out, because you don't suspect these things aren't going to work. You think you've done something wrong or yeah, somehow you've broken it. You don't assume there's some fundamental flaw. And that's what sometimes makes these missions so hard to do, is every time you do a mission, you will encounter weird bugs you've never encountered before.
Do not fear.
Just constant, endlessly. They won't make any sense, they won't have any reasoning behind them, and it can take you days to work out what is going wrong. Which is why I end up testing things so many times. This thing, Council of Elrond, it was later done, but I probably played these vignettes,
Die, you miserable creature.
30 times each, plus, at least,
Do not fear them.
Because you've got to do that to make sure you're not introducing an endless wall of bugs that just stop the level being playable. And that might be hard to believe for anybody who did test it, because there was still loads of bugs, but it was nothing compared to what it was like when I was first making the damn thing. You encounter so many issues. But even after years and years of doing this, you have no way of working out what the hell's going on. I might purchase this thing. Because that's helpful, isn't it? Makes my men stronger and, yeah, it makes them weaker. That's fine.
Get them.
It's power from Battlefield 2 I never used really. Buffs and debuffs, okay. And it adds more fog. It's already incredibly foggy scene. How are we doing in terms of numbers? We're doing fine. So at this point you don't need to worry too much about the numbers of men you've got, as long as you can survive. Because unfortunately, the next scene we're not really meant to win. So it's not important that we have huge numbers with us, just enough to make sure we can beat at least this wave. Which goes on for quite a long time. Did those guys just spawn in? We'll pretend we didn't see that.
Die, you miserable creature.
Sometime. What the hell have I done here? I don't know what that is, I'm going to ignore it. You can kind of get clumped where the enemy is, because there's an invisible boundary stopping you from going out here. Because otherwise you could leave the forest and you could see where I'm spawning orcs in, and you could, it would ruin the whole point of holding this one area. So I stop you from retreating the forest. Because of that, you get this boundary where all your men will approach it, and they can't go any further, and you kind of get clumped. Everybody gets a bit clumped around that boundary, so it's worth pulling them back sometimes. Why aren't you helping archers? Where is our hero? There he is. I believe it's Russell Crowe's face. He's got such a good face. It worked out really well. He's definitely one of my
Die, you miserable creature.
favourite new things we added. There we go. Objective complete. So,
Honor must
we know the
stand.
pattern.
We must take
Our
the
men
fight
will
to
now
them.
run off, meet us later.
There's too many. Come with me.
I think I hear him. I don't know why about Middle-earth. There he is.
March order.
In Battlefield 2 you can't look in the black space. That wasn't a problem in Battlefield 1 for a while, from memory.
For honor.
Get lost, you guys. Yes, you don't. He spawns in random places, by the way, between these 8 spots. He won't always be in the same place. You will have to try and find him every time.
Die, you miserable
I
creature.
like making it a bit random.
Honor
So you
must
can't just
stand.
learn a pattern. Keeps people on their toes. Keeps it interesting, I think. Here he is.
I stand as your king.
They are upon us. Can't hide any
Honor
longer.
must
Which is
stand.
true at this point.
Forward. Advance.
We can no longer really
Come
hide
with
from
me.
them because we've reached the
March
end of the
order.
forest.
Advance.
They drive forward. We
Anybody who
march
remembers
on.
the scene will know this river isn't a great sign.
I stand as your king.
And our objective here is now
Honor
simply
must
defend the
stand.
seal.
Draw your weapons.
Nothing complicated. Basically, survive if you will.
Positions, men.
Make ready. Draw your swords.
My concern is my lovely music prompt isn't going to play,
Soldiers of Gondor.
which it doesn't appear to be. That's a shame. normally in this scene, there's an overarching, I think it's Boromir's death theme, according to Khan. Plays over the whole thing. Slowly the sounds of the battle get drawn away. You know, we just hear the music, and it kind of, I guess it's meant to illustrate what's happening. You're meant to lose this. You can't win against this many, you know, this many troops. Slowly get whittled away. Many people do try to win, but there is no way. It's an endless horde of much better high veterancy orcs, and they just whittle your men away from every angle. It's a shame you can't hear the music. It really is. That's what makes this scene my favourite. But I guess it means you have a reason to play it for yourself. And Lord knows I'm not replaying it just to hear the music. What I will do before this fight's over is I will save, because these transitions away from the vignettes are what's prone to the old crash. Look at these two fighting side by side. I mean, Isildur's in a bush, which doesn't help, but they look just brilliant. Whack 'em! How many men we got? Can't be many left at this point. Oh no, there's a contingent up there. Often Isildur goes first. It's not scripted that way. He just often, I don't know if he's got less health than his. He does have less health. That's why then. He eventually slinks off when he loses enough health. We're just left with our remaining heroes and whatever units are still alive. Normally, actually, I've lost all the men by now. There we go. He's run off. He's fled. In the book, I think all of... Pardon me, I bumped my microphone. In the book, all of... I think Isildur's sons are dead by this point, I think. I don't think any of them survive. You can sort of hear the sounds have been drowned out. It's gone very quiet, when normally we'd have some music to sell this emotional setting. But we don't have that for some reason, because the game's being a dick to me. Well, it still looks good, even if it doesn't have much emotional punch. Get 'em. No, they're taking their sweet time with them this time. Normally they've slaughtered it much quicker. And these orcs come from the north and south, and they spawn in immediately level 5, just because it was the quickest way I could find of killing you off. Let's save that. Let's save this thing, because it's probably going to crash when I go to the next scene. Come on. Come on, honestly. After this level, though, we've only got one... After this vignette, that is, only one more story to hear, and that's Boromir's story, which is Osgiliath. It may be in the future that once you've done 2... Well, no, I think I did the scripting earlier, actually, so you might be able to leave after 2 vignettes if you want. If if you're struggling to complete it without crashes, you can just skip it, because people are ploughing on through these crashes with with great alacrity, but it's I don't want people to submit themselves to being tortured if they're not enjoying it. My God. Well, this is just endless, isn't it? There we go, finally. Jesus Christ. Sorry about that. And he's almost dead. And he's dead. Oh dear. What a shame. He falls backwards. Boof. And the orcs celebrate. And I think later on in the story, at least, the Mirkwood elves turn up and they find, I guess, all these corpses and what have you. And here we are. We have Isildur on the opposite bank. And he is there on the opposite bank. He's just revealed himself, and he's slowly getting shot to death. He's not that bothered by it seems like. Oh dear. And then it took 8 arrows to kill him. You'd have thought after the first, he'd have cottoned on to what was happening. Here we go. Listen to the remaining stories and leave the Hall of Fire early. There we are. So I added that in, so in case you do want to leave early. So hopefully that'll be in the next patch. Because this next vignette cause serious problems. I love the dirt texture, by the way. Matt did this. He just took the normal and added this sort of mossy kind of coloration. It just sells the fact that this part is exposed, whereas in here we have a roof, theoretically. You know, we just can't see it because we won't be able to see the building. Little details like that, which go a long way to make it feel that a little bit more authentic. Let's hear Sean Bean's tale. What's up, Sharpie? He's really heavily armed. He's just not taking any chances, is he? His text is lovely. It's nice to have this extra stuff with Boromir, because obviously you know, we only have him potentially. It's good to introduce this stuff for those people who don't take him forward into Two Towers and Return of the King, because that is optional. You know, you don't need him. You don't necessarily have to take him forward if you're somebody who's keen to lose him. Though I've not met anybody yet who doesn't desperately try to keep him alive.
It's no use! Fall back!
Here we are, straight into it. It's Gilead. This was the last thing we added, this vignette. I made it while on holiday, actually, on a canal boat. Which, if you've never been on one, it's a tiny, thin riverboat, if you will. It was raining constantly, so I had time to work on it. It used to be a lot bigger, the story. Essentially, we're reclaiming the western bank and repelling the attack from the east. Originally, once you'd done that, you would go then and take the eastern bank, but we trimmed it down for the sake of
Gondor must stand.
our sanity.
Rally again.
Right, now you can get a bit
Come with
confused
me.
at first as what the hell's going on, but basically there are, I think, 10 buildings that you can find. They're all flashed on the map in this hideous pattern, and you just have to find them all. You don't necessarily have to save them all, but you have to find them all and reclaim them. I think I should note you'll encounter a lot of these single units on their own, which are AI controlled. You can't use them. That scripting system I did intentionally because whenever we see Osgiliath, it's never a well defended, whatever. It's a bit chaotic, isn't it? You've got units from all places, all ages, everything, all injuries. You know, we got people missing eyes and things fighting there. So I wanted to have these random AI controlled units running around, having skirmishes across the city, just to sell that chaos. You get Boromir's troops, you know, and his men, but all of this stuff is AI. You know, we don't get to control that or influence it. But I think it works really well. I was most fond of it. It's fun sometimes just to come in and just watch them fight, you know, because it is stochastic. You don't know what's going to happen. Some fights they'll win, some fights they'll lose. You know? It's a mix.
Defend my people.
No, I'm really fond of it. And it means you don't have to worry too much about defending your buildings, because they might cross by and kill anybody who might attack them. Takes the edge off a bit of doing everything yourself. These rangers with the swords are amazing. You know, they give me real Return of the King kind of vibes. And they were great in Ranger captains, or whatever they are. We have our black orcs. They're really hard, actually, on this level. Originally it was just orcs. We mixed it up, we added in a bit of troop variety. These guys are, complete kids. Kill him. Right, kill that one too. Here we are, they're all dead. So that's our third building. It's a blacksmith. It's level 3, that's the important thing about it. If that dies, you have to wait a lot longer to buy your upgrades and what have you. I don't need that. This troll, I've said to the team, I've never actually managed to kill. They have, so he can be killed before he destroys this farm, but I've never managed it. I think because I approach from this angle, I don't get such an easy attack on him. Today may be the day though, you never know. I may manage to kill him in time. It seems unlikely. Oh no, you never know, I might just do it. Yeah, we did it, oh Jesus, see, as I said it, yeah. It's just a lucky day. He's dead, don't have to worry about that. This archery range, I got close enough that it's been discovered. Something to note is the way this is scripted is, once you get close to a building, it's not necessarily revealed, but the enemy will start attacking it. You know, up to that point they just sat there idle. If they attack it and you never go any closer, they can destroy it and then they'll just come and find you. When you go to that building eventually, it won't be there, it'll be plot. That's so when you do get there, the building's not, you don't see them pop in and start attacking it. there's occasions where that can happen. To try and make it seem like they're already attacking when you get there. But if you do leave them attacking the building without making them idle or on a friendly team, then all the AI units on the map will get clumped around. They won't wander around them. They'll just get drawn to these enemy units that are endlessly killing a building and invincible. So they have to belong to a neutral player until you get close enough. So those kind of things you don't necessarily think about when you're scripting them. It's only later on when you test it in game you go, why the hell? Where did everybody go? And you find out they're wasting their time fighting invincible troops. This map, if you don't recognise it, which you probably won't, you know, it's from the angles I showed it. There was an Osgiliath shell map I made for Battle of Middle-earth 1, and I took that map and I basically expanded it. I took the centre of it and built off of it. The camera used to start here and move up the stairs and then go around, and then sometimes it would go through these buildings and you'd see the shore and the opposite troops on that side. I really liked that shell map. I never really used it, so I thought it was a great way to expand and use work I already had to make Osgiliath. Osgiliath I find really hard to do. It's big and empty and full of ruins, and it can just look really repetitive and dull. So it was hard mapping this whole level. It took a long time. The ruins are incredibly labour intensive. It's either they look like nothing or they look like something. But sometimes you can go too much and it can look overtly grand and just be filled with objects. So if you look across the map, you will see a lot of copy and paste. You know, you copy and paste it, change 3 or 4 bits, and say it's a new building. You know, try and make your life a bit easier and a bit quicker, hopefully. What I will do is, while I have this building, is I'm going to make a bunch of archers. Because eventually we have to defend the bridges, which we haven't actually seen yet. This bridge down here we first saw was completely destroyed. That one's fine, we don't have to worry about that. But these two further up, they can. We have to look after those and protect them. So I will defend my people. While you can, it's useful to get some troops in. On your guard, men. You go there. From here, I'm going to make a bunch of troops. The scripting on these buildings is actually quite complicated sometimes. As if they're alive, you get there and you capture and you claim them. If they die, once you claim them, they'll spawn a treasure. So you don't feel too bad if you never manage to save them. However, if they die not too long, if you've claimed the building for X amount of time and then it dies, you don't get any treasure. So I had to make sure, because otherwise there's no problem if you lost the building, you know. So I had to make a system where you weren't too disadvantaged by it being destroyed unfairly. And then it's the prompts. If you find it as a building, it tells you what building you found. If it's a foundation, it tells you found a foundation. Those sorts of things, it's not overly complicated, but it takes a very long time to copy that across. You know. There's a huge amount of scripting that goes into that in particular. To try and get that all to work seamlessly, or as seamlessly as it can. These stairs, by the way, they look brilliant because they were made by Matt and Lego Man. They're actually Avon Hen stairs, but they fit in pretty well here. And, first time I've had stairs in this game that didn't just like utter crap. I believe the pathfinding up here can be a bit dodgy, so it can be difficult to kill these guys before they get you far. Let's lob a dagger at them, make life a bit easier. That hardly did anything. Kill them. Kill them. Oh no, we managed to save it. That's good. We're doing well. We've still got 2 minutes. Pardon me. Pardon me. So if that timer runs out before you've found every building, you will lose. Oh dear. There's a lot of orcs coming off that bridge. In fact, every single one of my men got killed. Never mind. We've got an army up here. There we are, we've reclaimed every building. That last building was, I believe, a workshop. The troll that's destroying it. Right, now we have 1 minute and 20 seconds to try and get as many troops as we can out the door before Mordor comes. And they will come, and they come in force. And our goal is to try and secure these bridges. Until then, we won't have big hordes, we'll just have random orc hordes, you know, the odd. These orcs are all single units, they'll just slowly come across the bridges. They're not too hard to push back. Once that 1.5 minutes runs out though, we have to defend against heftier troops, stronger ones. it's not. I don't think it's too difficult to win this level. It's certainly not as challenging as other parts of the campaign. But I'm sure you can lose. I guess. I think if Boromir dies in particular, or, although I don't think you can lose by losing all your buildings. So, well, at least I don't remember that being the case.
Let him have it, man!
I may take some of these men here and send them down to this bridge because
There's your
it's a
target!
lot busier. Right. Yes, this is that point I was talking about. The camera used to pan round here, and there would be some dudes fighting on the bridge here. That statue, of course, wasn't there. That was made up for the mod, and it looks brilliant. I hadn't used it yet anyway. I thought you fitted in perfectly there. See, this is the AI coming to our rescue. These random troops can help bolster your forces while you're still preparing. They're worth using. Where the hell is Boromir and his men?
We must take the fight to them!
Let's build another workshop.
Gondor must stand! Do not fear them!
Right. If you're wondering where these AI units do come from, the ones that you just see on the map, they're told to walk in from this black space. Scripture, it's not too complicated, you know, they once they die, there's a timer set and eventually they'll come back in. I would randomise what units they have, but back to the randomised section, it's called team scripting. You define what units are in each team. It's broken, it doesn't work anymore. It used to be you could say have 4 or 6 hordes of orcs, and when it spawned it would pick a random number, but it doesn't do that anymore, it's broken. So it's always the same groups, but I've tried to mix them up so they're less like distinct hordes and more just like random assortments. How are we doing? We're at our command point limit, in which case I should probably upgrade the men I've got. Get these bodkin arrows, because they're a new thing. I think I've added instead of fire arrows. Of course we've got to make note that the Anorian troops, the standard Gondor infantry, all have completely new models for 4.0, and they look amazing. This level's a lovely highlight for them, especially with the rangers and everything, you know. They just look fantastic, especially once they get their armour. That was one thing I was told. There's a cinematic that plays at the end of this level, and they weren't wearing their armour, and that was a no-no. What the hell? Why is it facing that direction? Oh well. Never mind. Foundations are weird in this game.
The enemy approaches! Man those towers! Our archers can hold the enemy at bay!
You'll probably recognise a few of those lines again from Battle for Middle-earth 1.
Those at the ready! Be
They
still!
were, you know, they work perfectly. Why not? Why the hell not use them? Especially as our next Two Towers version of it's going to maybe very different. I didn't know if we'd end up using them, so I thought, why the hell not here? You know? Let's use these weird powers. I never will use.
Let them fly!
See, originally, Ithilien reinforcements, that's Faramir from earlier, he'll be here in 2 minutes. We just have to survive for 3 minutes or so. Apparently there's water on this bridge. We have to survive until then,
I do not fear you!
at which point all we then have to do is clear the bridges. You know. Whereas originally you'd have to make a force and go across the river, and these smaller hordes, I did this on purpose. I didn't want huge hordes for this level. I thought it's not right, because the whole aesthetic is this frenzied defence. It's not planned, there's not big groups. So I wanted these smaller, shambles, if you will. Plus I'm a Battle for Middle-earth 1, you know, fan, if you will. So it always feels more normal to me to have these smaller hordes. They look better in my opinion, but that's just me. Here we are, these are the more advanced groups I was telling you about. We've got the, how do you pronounce this? Variags of Canned, something like that. I'm not sure. Let's pull back, we've got a bit too close. Yeah, once the bridges were cleared, you'd have to go across the river and claim all this. There was buildings out here and you had to destroy them, but it just took forever. And it wasn't overly fun, you know, it dragged. So we made the decision to cut that. So now once you've secured the bridges and Faramir's arrived, it just ends. And it is better. Much better. Shall I buy this? Why not? We're doing quite well. I know what to do, so of course I've managed to get a force ready and have you long before they've turned up, but people who aren't aware of that may be more caught off guard by that.
Keep firing, men! Stay focused!
There used to be catapults as well. That was the worst thing. They'd have these Mordor catapults I made that would line up here and shoot at you. You couldn't get them. Really. So they were just this constant annoying barrage, but it was too frustrating. People were confused, they thought they'd destroy them, but they didn't, so we completely scrapped it. I think it's the right thing to do. We'll have enough Mordor catapults in return. There we are, these bridges are fine, nothing's touching them. Now I may save my game in a minute, because though I've never had the out-of-memory error, I'm not going to tempt fate. See, look, this kind of stuff, I love this kind of stuff. Just these random interactions that may not happen otherwise, you know. Just to me, that's what I want to happen. Units going from every angle. There's no real plan. We've got archers shooting at troll on the bridge. You know, it looks good. I like it. You know, it really appeals to me. I was very pleased with how it all turned out. I have no shame in tooting that. You know, it's a system I'm definitely going to use again. If I ever did a skirmish map, I'd want this as well. I'd want these, you know, these fights going on around me. I've definitely lost a few men.
Keep it down, keep it down. Steady now.
Right.
Watch your backs.
See, we're fine. They're not getting anywhere near us. This bridge can sometimes suffer more. The trolls in particular can be quite annoying. Look at these guys. They're just they're taking the fight to them. As a player, you're not actually allowed to enter the east bank. Which can be confusing, but you know, our job here is to hold rather than advance. These guys aren't too bad. They're not too bad. They're just standing there. Look at them.
I will defend
Get
my
them, Boromir.
people.
These guys are cool. I remember them from the Dwarf Holds. Yeah, they didn't look like this, but they that's when I first remember seeing treasures. Now these guys are problems. These black orcs. They can
We
cause
must take the
real
fight to
headaches.
them.
What's it like down here? Not too bad. Pretty calm. The tides have sort of turned now. The North Bridge is really letting us in trouble.
Fight bravely, men.
Get them, Boromir. Get them. This was one of the levels that had the massive object purge. You're not going to know if you hadn't seen it before. You know, probably wouldn't look too bad, but there were a lot more subtle details, especially in some of the empty areas. You know, but they were excessive. You know, you didn't notice them. They were just fulfilling my
Die, you miserable
obsession with
creature.
making it probably overly detailed at times.
Soldiers of Gondor.
30 seconds. I may save when we get closer to that, just in case.
Leave none
And it's a good
standing.
chance to see Boromir in his armor, because we don't get to see that for the rest of the game. So to have him wearing this in this scene is it's nice. It's nice to have that included. The game clearly thinks these two dudes are on water. I mean, there's water below them, but they're not on it. Never mind.
Fast, men.
Does that power work? Oh yeah, it does. That's cool.
Stay together.
This is a hail of arrows, honestly.
There, get that one.
We're fine. They're not getting close to us. I think at one point I had attack trolls as well, but it was too difficult. They would just demolish everything. And rather than being spawned, because these were originally bases, buildings on the east bank that were building these units, the teams don't spawn in there. They're physically built from barracks and things in the black space, and then they cross over. So maybe eventually I'll change that to just spawning them in, because I think that works better. When you build things in World Builder, let's say we have 2 orc barracks and we say build team X. X will simultaneously be built by both barracks. Once they're built, it'll pick one and say this is X, and the other one will just be left without a team. So you get a build-up of extra units sometimes, which can be difficult and frustrating, because once you leave the level, how do you delete those units? Because they don't belong to any team. They're left in free space. And there were moments when we were testing it where they could get over to the Council of Elrond. So you could come back from a vignette, look back, and you look outside the Hall of Fire, and there'd be, 8 black orcs stood hammering the side of the thing, which really definitely broke the whole feeling. Those sorts of tiny things that turn up during testing, which are funny, but at the same time frustrating. And you'd know they'd get out, they'd escape from their zone, because there'd be stuff in the black space, you'd see them fighting it, you know. You'd get attack prompts for buildings in the black space you owned, but you couldn't see. So you'd know they'd gone out and escaped, basically. Like animals.
Captain Faramir and his army have arrived.
Faramir's here. Well, we definitely heard the music for about 8 seconds there. Then it ended.
Be alert. Look for traps.
Again, normally we'd have some lovely musical cues to support these scenes, but not today.
Well done, men. Now, let's cross the river and drive this filth from our lands.
He says cross the river. We're not going to do that because we're not meant to really anymore. This level is. I like this level because we get Madril and Faramir to play with. And normally Madril's only a summon, so it's nice to have him as a full-fledged hero for this scene. And we get our trebuchet with flaming rocks.
Be alert.
Why are all these guys stood in here? Go fight on the bridges, you're useless. Look how cool they look though. That armor's amazing.
Keep up the pace.
For Gondor, that's a Faramir line, that was.
They may be near.
It would have been lovely if there was some dialogue we could have between Faramir and Boromir. Sadly, obviously, they never recorded anything like that in the films or in the game.
Let us prepare for
Which
this
is a bit of a shame.
Strike them down.
So at this point, our only objective is to make sure these bridges are empty. We have about, if they're empty, 30 seconds or so after Faramir arrives, the mission is done. Any troops that are still left will retreat. It's not too tricky.
Steady.
Which is intentional. I didn't want it to drag out. You know, you don't get many troops from Faramir because the point is, you know, you're meant to have it mostly under control. Saying that, this bloody troll's turned up. And he's just... There we are. They're retreating.
The enemy is retreating. Victory is ours.
Hey, you better run. I wonder why it ended with that troll still there. Here we go then. Yeah, there's definitely something.
This city was once
The
the
timing
jewel of our
will be
kingdom,
off for this one.
a place of light and beauty and
My game
music.
slows down during the
And so it
cinematics.
shall be once more.
He never does
The
his fun
city
little
of
animations at the right
Osgiliath
time.
has been reclaimed. For Gondor!
So he should be lifting a shield like that.
For Gondor!
I don't know where all the objects are going. There should be a load of props around the statue and stuff, but that's disappeared, it seems like. I'll have to look into that, because they used to be there. Never mind. There we have it. All 3 done. No harm. Objective complete. Leave the Hall of Fire when ready. And that's it. So we've heard everything. We've heard the tales. If you're wondering why we can still see on the map, if you load a save game, basically these will appear in. And I did have a crash during Osgiliath before the cutscene. I just stitched the two together for the sake of continuity, and that's why you can see this now. Loading save games makes the whole game go very weird, so that's where that will come from. There we go. Mission done. What a lovely mission it is. It's, a lot of it in part due to the objects the guys made for me and the text they gave to me and all that stuff. Without it would be, you know, this kind of thing. This is in making the film, this was the scene they all hated. It was the hardest to write, and we took that and we had to trim it even more for the sake of an in-game movie clip. And I mean, you could do more. You could make it longer. You could do everything. But I think we do well enough in setting up what has to happen. We know what the Fellowship do, and we see them leaving, which I think is good. It works.
Back into the fiery chasm from whence it
Look at
came.
those eyes, that furrowed brow. Frodo's panicking. Well, no takers, it looks like. And we cut to our heroes setting off on their quest. Now we have it. We finally have our Fellowship to actually play with. It's the first time we actually get to use, well, everybody besides Boromir, Gimli, you know. Oh, actually, maybe that's it. No, Legolas as well. This is the first time we get to use any of them. Oh no, we used Boromir. Oh, what the hell? I'm talking nonsense. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next part where we're playing the much less glitchy Red Horn. Alright, I'll see you then.